On June 22nd, 2025, the most powerful political bloc in West Africa experienced a seismic shift that could either save or completely destroy the future of over 400 million Africans. The headlines read like a routine political handover, but here's what the mainstream media won't tell you. This isn't just a leadership change, it's a desperate attempt to save ECOWAS from complete collapse. Sierra Leone's President Julius Bio has just taken over as ECOWAS chairman from Nigeria's Bola Tinubu, and the implications for Africa are staggering. We are talking about a regional organization that has lost 3 of its most strategic members, faces an unprecedented security crisis, and now led by a man whose own election victory is shrouded in controversy. The question everyone asking is, can Bio save ECOWAS, or are we witnessing the final chapter? This is bigger than what most people realize, and by the end of this episode, you will understand exactly why this power shift could determine whether West Africa rises or falls in the next decade. But first, let me show you what really happened behind those closed doors in Abuja. The ceremony looked routine on television, but the handover of the ECOWAS ceremonial emblem from Tinubu to Bio was one of the most awkward diplomatic moments in recent African history. On June 22nd, during the 67th honorary session of the ECOWAS authority in Abuja, President Tinubu stood before his fellow heads of state, knowing that his tenure would be remembered as the period when ECOWAS lost 3 of its 15 members. The symbolic passing of the emblem wasn't just a ceremonial act, it was a desperate handoff of a sinking ship. Bio's acceptance speech was carefully crafted, promising to strengthen collaboration and work towards a prosperous sub-region. But the elephant in the room was impossible to ignore. 3 empty chairs that should have been occupied by the leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger served as a stark reminder of Tinubu's failures. Diplomatic protocol couldn't hide the tension in the room. Fellow West African leaders knew they were witnessing either the beginning of ECOWAS' resurrection or its funeral procession. But here's where the story gets really interesting, because Tinubu's legacy isn't just about empty chairs. Let's be brutally honest about what Tinubu's 2-year chairmanship delivered for West Africa. It was a period marked by significant challenges that culminated in the departure of 3 strategic member states. From the moment he took office on July 9, 2023, Tinubu faced the Niger coup crisis that brought General Tiani to power. But here's what sanitized news reports won't tell you. Tinubu's threat to use military force to restore democracy in Niger wasn't just unprecedented, it was diplomatic suicide. Think about the irony for a moment. While there were questions about various aspects of Nigeria's own 2023 elections, including technical failures in the electronic voting system and opposition legal challenges, Tinubu was threatening to invade a neighboring country in the name of democracy. The backlash was immediate and devastating. Northern Nigerian senators who share centuries-old cultural and ethnic ties with Niger openly opposed every sanction Tinubu proposed. His hardline approach didn't restore democracy. It created the Alliance of Sahel States and drove 3 strategic partners straight into Russia's arms. The numbers don't lie. Under Tinubu's leadership, ECOWAS went from 15 members to 12, lost access to crucial uranium resources from Niger, and watched helplessly as Mali and Burkina Faso severed their traditional partnerships. This changes everything we thought we knew about ECOWAS' failure. But wait until you hear about the man who's supposed to fix all of this. Here's the shocking truth that African media houses are tiptoeing around. Julius Bio, the man now leading ECOWAS' charge for democracy and good governance, is himself sitting on one of the most disputed election victories in recent West African history. The 2023 Sierra Leone presidential election that brought Bio his second term was so controversial that international observers are still questioning its legitimacy. The European Union Election Observation Mission didn't mince words. They flagged statistical inconsistencies and noted that voters' trust in the credibility of elections was undermined by lack of transparency during critical stages of the process. And what happened behind the scene is even more telling. The Carter Center, one of the most respected election monitoring organizations globally, stated, "We are not convinced that the integrity was maintained throughout the elections." Opposition leader Samura Kamara called the result daylight robbery. And 2 years later, Bio still hasn't published the complete election results as demanded by his own citizens. The National Elections Watch parallel vote tabulation placed Bio between 47.7% and 53.1% of the vote, below the 55% threshold needed for first-round victory, while official results showed 56.1%. The staggering implication for Africa is that regional bloc promoting democracy is now led by a man whose own democratic credentials are under serious question. Sierra Leoneans have expressed shock and dismay at Bio's appointment, asking how someone whose election victory remains disputed can restore credibility to ECOWAS. Tell me in the comments if you think Bio can lecture other African leaders about democratic governance when his own victory is questioned. But the contradictions don't end there, because Bio's appointment comes at the worst possible time for ECOWAS. This ongoing revolution fundamentally changes our understanding of the crisis facing West Africa. The formation of the Alliance of Sahel States isn't just a political disagreement, it's a fundamental rejection of the entire ECOWAS project that threatens to split Africa along new ideological lines. When Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger triggered Article 95 of the ECOWAS Charter to formally withdraw on January 29, 2025, they weren't just leaving an organization, they were declaring independence from 50 years of Western-influenced regional integration. But here's the bombshell that mainstream analysts won't discuss. The AES Confederation, formed on September 2023 as a mutual defense pact and transformed into a confederation on July 6, 2024, represents everything ECOWAS failed to become. While ECOWAS struggled with bureaucratic inefficiency and donor dependency, the Sahel Alliance launched its own passport system, established independent security cooperation, and deepened strategic partnership with Russia and China. The numbers are devastating for ECOWAS. These three countries represent approximately 72 million people who are now looking eastward instead of towards Brussels and Washington. General Chani of Niger, Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, and Goita of Mali didn't just leave ECOWAS, they exposed its fundamental weakness. Their former rejection of ECOWAS's December 2024 six-month extension offer was a diplomatic slap that echoed across Africa. They accused a handful of heads of state of imposing their will on the organization, a direct shot at Nigeria's hegemonic tendencies under Tinubu's leadership. The question is, can Bio succeed where Tinubu failed in bringing these brothers back to the fold? But the challenges facing this new chairman go far beyond diplomatic reconciliations. The terrifying reality is that while ECOWAS was busy with political ceremonies, jihadist groups have been systematically expanding their operations from the Sahel into coastal West Africa, and the security architecture is completely overwhelmed. The official statistics are staggering. Between January and August 2024 alone, there were 1,605 terrorist attacks recorded in West Africa, resulting in about 6,956 fatalities. And what security briefings reveal but won't publicize is that the departure of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger has created a massive intelligence gap that terrorists are exploiting with devastating efficiency. Between them, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Benin, and Togo experienced over 1,600 militant attacks in total, resulting in more than 6,900 deaths. Burkina Faso was the hardest hit, followed by Mali and Nigeria, while smaller but deadly incidents were also reported in Benin and Togo. The three departing countries were the front line against groups such as JNIM, Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, and Boko Haram. Their withdrawal from ECOWAS security cooperation has left a coordination vacuum that's proven impossible to fill. The proposed ECOWAS standby force, discussed for over 2 decades, remains a pipe dream, while real bullets are claiming real lives across the region. Bio's promise to revitalize regional security sounds impressive until you realize that ECOWAS has no independent military capacity, and member states that can barely secure their own countries. The implications are staggering for the entire continent. We are witnessing the potential expansion of Sahel insecurity southward, and the organization supposed to stop it just lost its 3 most experienced counter-terrorism partners. This is bigger than most people realize because the security crisis is directly linked to the economic challenges that ECOWAS refuses to acknowledge publicly. The economic reality, which ECOWAS promotional materials won't show you, is that after 50 years of promises, significant challenges remain in achieving the level of integration originally envisioned when the organization was founded in 1975. The much celebrated ECOWAS single currency project has been postponed multiple times, reflecting the complex economic realities facing the region. While ECOWAS has achieved notable success, including the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme and the establishment of a free trade area in 1990, significant barriers to full integration persist. The customs union exists with ongoing challenges, including multiple tariff complications, currency exchange difficulties, and bureaucratic obstacles at border crossings that make intra-regional business a challenge for many African entrepreneurs. Bio's promise to unlock economic integration faces a harsh reality check. The three departed Sahel states control significant portion of ECOWAS mineral wealth, agricultural production, and strategic trade routes. Their absence has created supply chain disruptions that are already affecting economic activities from Lagos to Dakar. The institutional credibility Bio claims he wants to restore requires addressing decades of implementation gaps between ambitious regional projects and on-ground realities. Bio's appointment now represents either ECOWAS's greatest opportunity for renewal or its most critical test of relevance. This is the moment of truth for West Africa, and what happens next will determine whether 400 million people move towards greater prosperity or face continued fragmentation. Bio's 4-point agenda represents either an ambitious renewal plan for ECOWAS or the most challenging leadership test in the organization's 50-year history. His promises to restore constitutional order, revitalize regional security, unlock economic integration, and build institutional credibility reflect both continuity with previous ECOWAS goals and urgent need for concrete results. But here's what makes this different. Bio has inherited an organization that just celebrated its 50th anniversary in May 2025, while simultaneously facing its greatest membership crisis. The Alliance of Sahel States has proven that alternatives to ECOWAS are not only possible but operational, creating a demonstration effect that other members are watching carefully. Ghana, Senegal, and even Cote d'Ivoire are observing whether Bio can deliver tangible results that restore confidence in multilateral solutions. But the real challenges facing Bio are immense. He's inheriting an organization with reduced membership, facing complex security threats, and even dealing with member states that are increasingly exploring diverse partnership options. The appointment of a chief negotiator to oversee dialogue with the Sahel states reflects ECOWAS's recognition that building relationships requires sustained diplomatic effort. Bio's emphasis on moral clarity and commitment to regional progress suggests he understands the magnitude of the task. But understanding challenges and implementing solutions are completely different undertakings. The outcomes will have significant implications for Africa. If Bio succeeds in revitalizing ECOWAS, it could serve as a model for effective African regional integration. But continued challenges might accelerate the trend towards smaller, more focused regional partnerships. The fundamental question is whether Julius Bio, despite questions about his own electoral mandate, can restore confidence to an organization that needs to prove its continued relevance to both its members and the people it serves. Tell me in the comments, do you believe ECOWAS can adapt or thrive, or are we witnessing the natural evolution of African institutions towards new forms of cooperation? This represents a pivotal moment for understanding the future of African unity, and your perspective on this conversation matters more than you realize. The next 2 years will determine whether West Africa finds new paths to integration or explore alternative models of regional cooperation. And every African watching this video has insight that could shape this critical discussion. This is Frontline Africa. If you believe these are the stories that needs to be told, truth unfiltered, power reframed from an African lens, then join the conversation. Subscribe, share, and let us know what you think. I am Ezekiel Enejeta. See you in the next one.